Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strike Zone with Manager George Tsamis. Strike Zone is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Saints manager questions about the Saints, baseball or sports in general, or just seek the skipper's wisdom about what's going on in life. This week, George talks to us about the upcoming World Series and discusses his prediction of who will win it. He gives us a little insight into the new moves that the Saints have made over the last week, and we talk to him about what's going on in the NFL. So let's get right to Strike Zone. Excellent. We want to welcome back Manager George Tsamis this week. George, first of all, before we begin, you had a lot of moves that went on into today related to the team. So let's begin by talking about the moves that you've done with the Saints itself.
Yeah, just standard paperwork. We picked up the option on several of the players, and I would think several of the players will be back next season. But again, it's just standard paperwork that's done around the league. You pick up the option, and again, we had several guys that had good seasons, and we hope several of them will come back. But then again, though, in the baseball world, sometimes guys retire in the off season. They move on to new jobs. So we'll see what happens here, in the upcoming months. But it's just basically we picked up the option on several players.
Now, with the exception of Jeff Shields, who was dealt as part of the David Espinosa deal, you bring back all four of your starters, it looks like.
Yeah, but you never know, though. You just don't know what's going to happen. I know Pedro Hernandez is playing winter ball in Venezuela, and he's 26 years old, and he's left-handed, and you just never know. He's a guy that I think could get back with an organization. Left-handers, towards the end of the season, too, before he got shut down at the end. I mean, he was getting up there close to 90, and so if Pedro doesn't get signed by a major league club, we would think he interested in returning. But the other starters too had good years as well too. Crenshaw was excellent. Kramer Sneed was excellent. Coe was excellent. So you just don't know if any of these guys are going to get signed in the off season, and they all deserve the opportunity. Just don't know how it's going to play out.
You had talked a little bit about how Ryan Cavan had come out of retirement wanting to play at CHS Field. Is he still considering returning then again this year?
He's up in the air as well too. I guess he's coaching a high school team, and I guess he teaches a little bit as well too. So there is a chance. I know he just got married. He got married to Jim McMahon's daughter too. So
really?
That's a pretty neat. Yeah, it's a neat story. So I know he definitely wants to play. But can he play with the coaching and teaching? I'm not really sure. So that one's going to come down. We'll see what happens, around March. We'll see where he's at. But he was an excellent acquisition for us at the end, and he did a good job, and we hope he does play.
I'm sure you're not looking for the same kind of situation with Dan Kazrowski again.
Yeah, you know what? The Kazrowski thing, it's just, he's been retired for a couple of years, and obviously when we had the injuries, we just reached out to him. He was local, and we did the same thing last year too, where we reached out to him and asked him, "Hey, do you want to play?" And I remember his answer was, "No, I'm fishing at the cabin," or whatever. So it's just I think he's retired this time, but you just never know in this. There's times when I think the new stadium had something to do with him, coming back to it. He wanted to play in it. He loved it, and but who knows? Kazrowski's been retired for years, but we brought him back this year, and you just never know.
We had a lot of people who asked questions about related to the World Series and your kind of analysis and predictions. So we're lumping these together as two questions. So the first one is, can you tell your personal analysis of the two teams, what you think are some good aspects and some areas that's kind of a challenge for both Kansas City and for the Mets?
You know what? It's been an exciting series to watch. The American League one, especially obviously what the Mets did with the Cubs was a surprise, and the Mets are just clicking, and they look great. And I am pulling for them. I do hope they win. But the Royals are an excellent team, and again, I think what we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, whoever wins, I don't think anybody can be surprised. There's just two excellent teams that play the game the right way and hustle. And even when the Royals scored the winning run the other day, people didn't mention really too much, but on that ball that was hit in the corner when Kane scored all the way from first base, and you got to give so much credit to the third base coach for waving him, because he wasn't even to third base yet when that throw came in. But a lot of guys are still in this. Lorenzo Cain, he hustled from the second that ball was hit all the way around, and a lot of guys, when they're pulling into third, they usually just slow down, just assuming, okay, we're going to have first and third, no outs, or second and third, no outs. But he just kept hustling, and that is why they scored that run, and that's why they won the game. And that's something you would love to see more of, guys hustling the way he did.
Absolutely. Do you see one team
that won't show up in the box score?
True.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that won't show up in the box score. His hustle. And it's like, again, a lot of guys would have just pulled in third, but not him. though. This is two teams that play the game right and they hustle, and you want guys like that. And there aren't too many superstars on each team. Just a bunch of solid, good players that play the game hard.
Do you see one team as having a clear advantage over the other?
I guess the Mets starting pitching, they're pretty good, those guys, and that's going to be tough. But the Royals, you can't. They get it done, so I don't think it matters who's pitching. They find ways to score runs. They get it done, and that Royals bullpen, that's pretty outstanding as well too. So it's a toss up, and I don't know who's favored in it. But again, I wouldn't be surprised who wins. But I would like to see the Mets pull it out.
So do you have a prediction of who you believe will win the series?
Let's say the Mets in 6. Let's go with that.
Mets in 6. Excellent.
Yeah, why not? Let's try that.
I like it. Hank from St. Paul would like to know, don't you think Dan Murphy is having the greatest postseason of all time already?
You know what? It's something else. How many games in a row has he hit a home run in? Was it like 7 now?
6, yeah.
Yeah, it's and he's a free agent too, correct? He picked the right time. It's unbelievable. And even the last game when he hit the home run, well, even the time before, the at bat before, didn't he hit one? It bounced up against the wall too. So he came close a couple times. Just talk about it. He's been so clutch, and it's great for the game. And again, it's another player that's been a solid player over the years, a solid hitter, but he just turned it on at the right time.
Well, what's he hit home runs against Greinke, Crenshaw, not Crenshaw. I'm saying Crenshaw.
Crenshaw's pretty good. Our Crenshaw's pretty good, though, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying
Kershaw.
Kershaw, yeah, I'm sorry. I had the name wrong. Kershaw, Arrieta, and Lester. I mean, that's quite a postseason right there, I would think, on its own.
Yeah. There's some tough pitchers. Yeah, he's not hitting them off lousy pitchers. He's hitting them off some real good pitchers. So it's just been an excellent playoffs for him.
Our next question comes from a person identifying himself as Squiggy, who asks, has the schedule come out yet?
No, I'm hoping sometime next week. We're hoping. I think they're just making some minor changes. We're not sure if we're going to have the same amount of teams. But we're hoping sometime next week, and it's always an exciting time to, when that schedule comes out, to see you open up with. And so hopefully sometime next week.
Not the same amount of teams because you're gaining or you're losing a team, maybe?
I don't know if gaining, losing, I'm not really sure. It just hasn't been determined yet. So,
okay.
But I do know one thing that's been changed. We won't have the international extra inning rule anymore. That's out. So I think a lot of people are happy about that rule is gone. So could be 9-inning games, could be 15-inning games. We'll be there for a while. So it's I'm sure a lot of people are happy about that.
Oh, I bet Kevin Hooper celebrated for months. So.
Yeah, and you know what? And I did understand the reasoning behind it, because you have a small roster, and you don't want to burn out bullpens, and we don't have a 25-man roster. We had a 22-man roster. So I understand the point of it. And this season coming up, we will be allowed to carry a 23rd man on the roster. It just has to be a 5th rookie. So that's a good thing too, as well too. So I think we'll be able to have 11 pitchers and then maybe 3 position players on the bench too. So I think that's a good sign.
That'll be nice. Manny from
I think it's better.
Manny from Plymouth would like to know from you, why did you decide to be a pitcher?
Well, one, I wasn't a very good hitter, so that has something to do with it. But it's just something that I just enjoyed it. I wanted to do it, and and never really threw that hard too. Just what do they call the lefties? The little geeky lefties that just don't throw very hard and just know what you're doing. And that was just something that I enjoyed, and I just kept working at it. And again, I couldn't hit very good, so maybe it was by default.
What was the guy, Bill Lee, that they used to call Space
Yep.
Cadet or something like that?
Yep. Give us space man. Yep.
Excellent. Ken from Maple Grove would like to know from you. Ole Sheldon seems like quite a character. What is he like as a person?
Exactly that. He's a character. He's a funny guy, and obviously we like him. He's our hitting coach. He was one of the better players we've ever had in our years there in St. Paul, and he does a good job. He works with the hitters, a lot. He'll be there 6 hours for the game to work with them, and he does a good job. For his first year coaching third base, the first 2 years, he's done a real good job. And coaching third base, that's it's a lot tougher than people think it is. And you can make 9 out of 10 calls right, and people want to criticize that one you mess up. But he's done a real good job out there coaching third base.
Speaking of coaching, Caleb from Egan would like to know, why is it during games you don't use a full-time coach at first, but instead rotate players? Don't you think that having a coach at first is not that big a deal?
No, coach at first is a big deal, but we have Ole is our hitting coach and coaches third, and Kerry Lightberg's our pitching coach, and he's usually in the dugout with me, and so we usually just have the guy that started the night before, the starting pitcher the night before. We have him out there coaching first base, and you know what? It's a job there. You got to pay attention. You can't just be looking up in the stands and seeing what's going on in there, and admiring our beautiful stadium. You got to pay attention, and so if you don't, that guy's gonna get picked off first base all the time when our guys are on base. So it's just we have the starting pitcher the night before. Usually do it, and once in a while, if a position player gets a day off, he'll want to do it. But they have to be paying attention out there.
Tammy from Woodbury asks of you, with CHS Field attracting so many fans this last season, do you see them adding additional seating soon?
I don't know the answer to that, and it's pretty. It's been pretty full, hasn't it? It's been exciting, and they find ways to squeeze them in there. So it's the 8,000 people we got. I'm sure they'll find ways to get a few more in there, and it's just a beautiful place to be. But I couldn't answer if they're planning on making it bigger. I couldn't answer that one.
Carl from Richfield would like to know from you, why did Mike Woznicka not return to the Saints at the end of last season? He was having such a good season.
Yeah, he was having a good season. He's an excellent outfitter, and his wife had a baby, and they're right there down the stretch run for us. And I think it was more of a personal thing. He needed to stay there with her, and he couldn't travel with us on the road in the playoffs, and so it's just more of a personal thing where he just couldn't get away, and just needed to stay with him.
Barry from St. Paul would like to know from you, who would you select to this year's Baseball Hall of Fame group?
There's tough choices there. Well, I know for sure that I've ever played against and what I've ever seen. I guess this is his first timer, and he should be in there for sure. Why would you not vote for Ken Griffey Jr.? What a hitter he was, and again, something that doesn't show up in the box scores. Again, how great of an outfitter he was, making all those great plays out there, and great arm he had, and a guy that I've always admired that I guess won't get in. I guess he doesn't have the numbers, but Edgar Martinez is one of the better hitters that I had ever faced, and another guy that he just seemed like he got 2 hits every game, and there's some real good guys, and those 2 guys, they got in, which we know Griffey's going to, but Edgar Martinez would be a guy that he's the reason why there should be a DH in both leagues. Watching hitters like that, because he was an excellent hitter, and I guess Trevor Hoffman had 600 something saves, so he's probably a guy that would probably get in there as well. How about you? What do you think?
Well, I thoroughly agree with you about Griffey. I mean, there should be no argument about that whatsoever. You and I have talked about before about the kind of the Trevor Hoffman, Lee Smith kind of a debate, because I thought both of them deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, but people don't seem to be giving Lee Smith very much respect, and so I wonder if that's going to hurt Hoffman's chances.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, Lee Smith was excellent. He was so intimidating out there, but Trevor Hoffman with the 600 something saves. He just came in and he was just nasty and threw that changeup all the time. Everybody knew he was going to throw it, and just nobody could hit him. So, but it'll be interesting to see who gets in.
I think Fred McGriff finished with 493 home runs. Is that? He's a tough call.
Yeah, he was quietly another guy that's just an excellent hitter. That's nice big left-handed bat and just got the job done.
Wow, that's a tough call. I think what we're saying then is Hoffman and Griffey. And Martinez.
Hoffman and Griffey, but I'd like to see Edgar Martinez get in there. I know he was DH, most of the time there, but just a great hitter to have.
Our next question comes from Sam from Anoka, who'd like to know, why do you think Tommy John surgery has become such a frequent option for young pitchers nowadays? What did they do 30 years ago when a guy had this kind of injury?
Yeah, no, 30 years ago, I don't remember hearing about it very often. But you know what? Those guys that have that Tommy John, they seem to come back stronger from it. And you see so many guys that have had it, and it's a tough 15, 18 months layoff after you have it. But hey, it seems to make a lot of guys stronger after. So that's what it takes. And guys coming back to 97 miles per hour, then that's the way it is. Again, back when I played, I didn't hear about it very often.
Heading into our football questions for you this week, Devin from Minneapolis would like to know, wasn't that a great comeback by the Vikings yesterday? They look like they could make it to the playoffs.
Absolutely. They fell behind. I watched that game too, and they fell behind with 14-0 pretty quick. And but you know what? They're good. They just have a good team, and they made some adjustments, and I hope they can keep it rolling, and I hope they can get into the playoffs, and not just get into the playoffs. They still have they have a chance to win that division. They have the Packers twice, and I know the Packers are in Denver next week, so who knows? The Vikings could be playing for first place, sooner than you think.
Todd from Crystal would like to know from you, who do you think is the team that will win the NFC East? It just seems to him that no one wants to win the division.
I think whoever stays healthy, because that's up for grabs, and I know we talked about it, and just whichever one of those teams wins it, we can't be surprised, because it just seems like everybody's even. I thought the Eagles were going to be. I thought they had the best chance to win, but you just don't know. One day Sam Bradford looks great, and one day he doesn't look so good. So it's a coin flip, and I would have no idea who wins that one. Whoever stays healthy.
Harold from St. Paul would like to know from you, what do you think is wrong with Andrew Luck so far this season? He just seems to have nothing going on now. Can he turn it around?
Yeah, he definitely can turn it around. That's one surprise, too. That's one of the biggest surprises, their struggles and his struggles. But they still are in first place, in that division. Yeah. You know what? It's, I don't know if he's getting killed, too. I don't know if he has enough time. They always seem to be on the run. So, but again, that's another division that's up in the air, and as much as they're struggling, they are in first place, and the winner of that division is going to host a playoff game. So there's a long way to go, and we'll see how it plays out. But I still think the Colts are going to win that one.
Tim from Minneapolis asks of you, Adrian Peterson claims he got sick from eating some bad shrimp. Did you ever eat anything that caused you to be sick and miss a game?
No, not really. It's that's a. I don't know. You hear that it was a shrimp, and you hear it was he swallowed some dip. I really don't know what happened on that one. I know he had a nice game though, and it's he's a big key for them. So hopefully he can not be sick and come back next week and play well again.
Stay away from the Red Lobster, Adrian.
Yeah.
Return. Okay. Our last question for you is from Mike from San Jose, who asked, do you think the Raiders will ever become a quality franchise again?
Well, you know what? The way they looked yesterday, it was you never know in the NFL, huh? One day they look so bad, and the next day they look so great, and mean, they went in there yesterday and looked so good. So you just don't know. They looked great yesterday. So we'll see what happens if they can win a couple in a row. And you never know, they can get back in it and maybe get a wild card out of it.
It'd be nice to see the silver and black figure out what's going on with themselves there for sure.
Absolutely. When we were growing up, they were awesome to watch. They were exciting, but then for a long time now they haven't been. But you hope they can get back and play well and get into the playoffs.
Well, we're two Bay Area kids, so we want to see that happen there.
So. That's right. That's right.
So, George, thanks for joining us this week.
Okay, thank you very much.
We want to thank Manager George Tsamis for joining us on Strike Zone this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Saints skipper, please send them to us at askgeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's askgeorge@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday so we can give the skipper a little bit of time to review those questions before we record the show on Monday afternoon. We're giving a little bit more time now because of the NFL season going on and a lot of people having questions related to the NFL. So if you'd like to pose those questions, please have them to us by Sunday evening so that we can give them to him to review for Monday. We want to thank you for joining us on Strike Zone this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next week on Strike Zone.